is on fables. And when you guys, see the word fable, you probably think to yourself, what in the world is that? What is a fable? But realistically, after you get through this PowerPoint, you'll realize that you've actually probably read a lot of fables in your lifetime. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to answer the two questions. What is a fable? And what are the elements of a fable? So we're going to go ahead and get started moving through the PowerPoint. The first question we're going to dive right in is, what is a fable? And I'm not going to just basically read off the slide, but I'm going to summarize what that says. But these fables essentially were from a very long time ago. They started a very long time ago, and they were passed along from generation to generation through, word of mouth. People were just talking. So where it says that it was oral storytelling, they were basically just sharing the stories like we would share, like we have shared on Zoom. Um, they didn't have them written in books for a very long time. And the only way that people knew of these stories were from word of mouth. But the biggest part of a fable is that they're written to tell and teach a lesson almost, trying to teach that moral thing to do in a situation where you're faced with two different decisions that could be made. You should always be making the right one, and that's kind of always the big takeaway in fables. As you get into the elements of a fable, there are four important elements of them. Most of the time, fables include animals that are personified, or they act like humans. They're given characteristics of a human rather than an animal. So they can talk, they can dance, they can walk, they can do all sorts of things and travel, and that's what you'll see in most fables. Fables are also meant, as we mentioned before, meant to teach you a lesson about life, and that's what we call a moral. We talk about that in other stories, not just fables. So moral is just an important part of a fable. Usually throughout fables, there's some type of problem, and then a solution to that problem that the characters in the stories, face these challenges and they do whatever it takes to overcome them. Sometimes they have, other characters in the stories that are supporting them. And then another element of fables is that they're very short. They don't have to be long. They don't need to be, paragraphs. Very short story, right to the point, and teaches that moral as quickly as possible. So those are the most important things that make up a fable. Here is an example of those different elements and what it would look like, an example of a story that most of you might know, The Tortoise and the Hare. So the characters in that story are obviously a tortoise or a turtle and a hare or a rabbit. So basically in that fable, the problem is that the hare was a little too confident. He decided to take a nap in the middle of the race, because he was sure he was going to win the race. He was the rabbit and he was racing a turtle, and usually turtles are very slow. So basically throughout the fable, this rabbit is so confident, challenges this slow moving turtle, and he bragged about the fact that he was going to be faster and that he was clearly going to win. Um, and, as the problem came about, that wasn't necessarily the case. So by the end of the short story, the hare learned that, don't, it's not, good to be too confident, and it's not good to brag, and certainly not kind, and you're not going to make others feel good. And in the end, none of that is going to help you to get ahead or to help you to win. Um, so the biggest takeaway in this situation and in this short story is that, slow and steady wins the race. And we have that conversation in our classroom all the time. If you rush through your work, you're not going to do your best. So, um, you know, do it nice or do it twice, right? But if you take your time and you put in your best effort, then the reward will be that you are successful in what you do. And that's kind of what happened here with the tortoise and the hare, a very popular fable that I'm sure many of you have read before. So here are some other examples of different fables besides the two that we've already read this week. But these fables can all be found on Mayan. There's plenty of other fables that can be found on Mayan, as well as other reading resources like our virtual library. So if you are interested in these types of stories, definitely check them out. But be sure that when you are writing your fable, that you are most importantly focusing on these four elements, including that animal, thinking of what lesson you're trying to teach, trying to figure out what the characters in the story are going to overcome, what issue they're going to have or problem they're going to face, and then keep it short. All right? If you have any questions, let me know.